GM. I want to talk about some random stuff today, uh, just to sort out my own thoughts. The first one is how to become a smart contract dev. Um, I tweeted this out yesterday because I think it's valuable for other people as well. This is my own personal roadmap, basically, that I started a couple of years ago. But I think it's still valid and a great way to learn this stuff. Um, but you have to be a dev already. So if you don't know what a for loop is, what a while loop is, what a if statement is, this is the wrong video for you. Learn Python, JavaScript before this. Okay, but once you know the programming basics, start by reading this great book, Mastering Ethereum. Not mastering Bitcoin, you can do that too, but mastering Ethereum by Andreas. I'm not even try to pronounce his second name. And Gavin Wood, actually, I didn't know that. Gavin Wood wrote the yellow paper for Ethereum. Great book to understand how Ethereum works on the execution level, even the consensus level. But obviously this book is a bit older, so it's still about proof of work, not proof of stake. Maybe there's an updated version of this, I don't know. Like the book I read is about proof of work, but it doesn't really matter because you're interested in the execution layer, not the consensus layer. So read this book to understand how Ethereum works, what a transaction is, what a contract is, what an EOA is, and so on and so forth. Once you're done with that, I would do CryptoZombies. CryptoZombies is a great game to learn Solidity. And you can do that, right? This is a great way to learn Solidity. The other way is to go the Viper way. Viper is another language that you can do smart contracts in Ethereum land. I would argue it's a bit easier to start with. And there are great tutorials about Viper as well. So maybe you do both, CryptoZombies, and then you look at Viper, implement like a simple thing. Maybe do like a stable coin, which is like a real project, micro stable. This is what I wrote. It's the most simple design of a stable coin. This is like an actually working thing. Try to re-implement this in Viper. Look at the implementation Solidity, try to re-implement this in Viper, and then you can actually look at microstable world, where we have implementations by other people in different languages. So I think that's a good way to learn something else. So here's the Viper implementation that you can compare to once you do it yourself. Provided by Big Tech Sucks. Shout out. Cool. Third point, big point actually, go to hackathons. Just go to hackathons with the intention to learn, to get to know new people. ETH Global is the classic one. They have so many events throughout the year. Go to the in-person events, check out their Discord to find a team, look out for other good builders that you can learn from, and as I said, your intention is to get to know new people and make new friends. If you go to the hackathon and start arguing with people, you're doing it wrong. Then actually, build a simple front end. Your contract doesn't live in isolation. You always have a front end guy, even if you don't, I implemented front ends myself. I did it for Dyad as well. I'm not a front end guy. I'm not the design guy. I know some React, but it's important. It makes it easier to interact with the front end guy that's going to interact with your contracts. and yeah, just learn new stuff. I guess it's like React is really valuable. Even if you do it yourself, like just makes you faster to implement the contracts and then implement the front end as well. Build a simple indexer. So once you have something that you actually want to use in production, you will need to store some things in the database, and you cannot query that from the contract directly. So an indexer is a great way to learn about, database stuff. How do I do real-time things? There are tools for that. At this point, back in the day, we had to re-implement this from scratch. Ponder is amazing, but do it once from scratch, and then you can really appreciate this. And you can learn a ton of new stuff as well. I implemented 2 indexers from scratch. They're not super performant, but they were enough for what we needed. Do it once or twice, and then when you actually do something in production, use Ponder. But it gives you a great view on things. Cool. 6th point, build EVM from scratch. And if you don't know where to start, you can use EVM from scratch.xyz, which I built. Go through this, try to re-implement it from scratch, maybe do it in a different language. I did it in Python. Do it in JavaScript or something easy. Maybe do it in Rust. Interesting, it's always good to learn a bit of Rust. But this gives you, this will make you learn about assembly. How your contracts in Solidity and Viper get compiled down to bytecode, how it's executed in EVM, what are like the side effects of things, of each opcode. You have like the pub opcode here, what's the stack, what's memory, what's storage. It will teach you all that very important stuff. And actually I need to fix this. If you want to fix it yourself, do a PR, I would be very happy. Also, it will teach you an in-depth into gas, because each opcode has a specific amount of gas. There is evm.codes or storage. No, it's not .storage. EVM opcodes. There's this great site, evm.codes, that has like a whole list of all EVM opcodes that we have right now, what they do and what they cost in gas. And once you learn this, maybe you go back to the microstable implementation and do it in UL, or you do it in Huff, or you just check out this implementation and ask ChatGPT if you don't understand something. GitHub still doesn't have a Huff syntax highlighting. Okay. Yeah, go back, do it in Huff or UL. This will teach you a lot of assembly. Cool. I would say once you do that, you're ready for the real stuff. Obviously, you can always skip some points. You don't necessarily need to know how how assembly actually works under the hood. It just makes you a better programmer. But yeah, it's time to build something real. Build a protocol that does something interesting. Build a front end or have someone else do it. Have an indexer, use Ponder, deploy it. Get an audit, which you have to do before you deploy something. A good solo audit is between 5 and 10K. Doesn't cost that much. If your protocol is simple, that's a good way to start. Obviously, if you have more money, you can go do an audit by a company, or do a audition, like an auditing competition through Code Arena or Cantina or something. And this will also teach you how to write good tests. Please, if you're starting out, use Foundry. It's the best tool to write smart contracts in. It will allow you to write tests, fast tests, and all the things you need in Solidity as well, which makes you super fast. Use this. Right? There is Hard Hat as well, which was a great tool back in the day, but if you can, use Foundry. It will save you a lot of time. Cool. Once you deploy something real, you have some users, maybe some TVL, go ahead and read some great protocols. I created this small repo called Awesome Smart Contracts, where you can go and we have a list of very good protocols. This is very opinionated. It's my opinion that these are some of the best protocols that we have, that most of them I looked at personally, some of them I only looked at briefly. They came through pull requests. So if you have another protocol that you want to see here, do a PR, right? And yeah, let's look at Sablier. It's a Foundry. Sablier has some of the best test infrastructure out there. Take a look at it, you will learn a ton of stuff. And for some of these, there's also the bytecode episode, which is something I do on the side, where we have great builders which do a code walkthrough through their code base. There's also Solidity Fridays, which is also amazing. They do a very similar thing. Actually, they were the inspiration for doing the bytecode, so big shout out to them. Great episodes, you will learn a ton of new stuff. Yeah, and once you do this, go to step 7 and repeat, man. Build something else, build another protocol, get an audit, do some tests, do a bunch of tests, obviously, fuzz tests, invariant tests, and so on and so forth. Deploy it, get some users, read some great protocols, and repeat. Yeah, there's no ending to this. Cool. This is one thing I want to talk about, how to become a smart contract dev. The second thing is, I started a startup before Dyad. Dyad was started by Joey. I was only the founding engineer, but before that I started a startup called Smart eFunding, and learning from that, this was like 3 years ago now, I would do it like this now. And a huge inspiration actually is TinyGrad by George Hotz, which is, it's one repository, like the whole company is one repository, basically. So it's the first point of mine, one repo, it's open source, everything is here, right? So issue tracker is here, your pull requests are obviously here. You have like a board thing. Why is TinyGrad slow? Interesting. And this is actually really cool. And you have a bunch of points here, so you can check your stuff here. Everything is here. Status board, like a Kanban board or whatever it's called. Everything in one place, which makes it very simple. Obviously, when you do smart contracts, you probably have like a monorepo of contracts, front end, indexers. I don't know what else you need, like liquidation bots or bots in general, all in one place. Monorepos have some advantages and disadvantages, obviously, like everything else has its trade-offs. But I think if you keep your protocol simple, I would do it in a monorepo. Just have everything in one place. Streaming equity, what I mean by that is basically you're building a protocol, right? You're going to have a token. The token maybe have some utility, or you're just raising funds, whatever it is. And streaming equity is just streaming your token to your employees or shareholders or investors, angels, or whatever. You stream it. Very simple. Just use Sablier, which is great for this stuff. Perfect test coverage. Why I put this in here is, if you have a perfect test coverage, you can really trust in your PRs because your CI/CD pipeline is really solid. So once you have a PR that goes through the CI/CD and is successful, you have the confidence to merge it in, which is really valuable because your iteration speed is everything. If you can iterate quickly, you're going to be golden. Have a protocol, have some tests, some invariant tests, whatever. Once you have a PR, you trigger those tests. If they're successful, you can merge it in. If not, then you can't. And this is why perfect test coverage is very important, so you can trust your test. Tokenized ownership is very similar to streaming equity. So whatever you have, tokenize it, do it on chain. Fuck the banks. It's easier that way, trust me. Spectrum of employment is interesting. So what I mean by that, not everyone who you pay in some form is a full-time employee, right? So someone that comes in and does a great pull request, and you're like, okay, man, I'm gonna, compensate you for that. This is not an employee, right? It's like a spectrum. You have your founder, yourself, and employees that are like a full-time thing on one end, and you have another guy who's on the Discord, just helping people out. And you have guys in the middle that come in, do some pull requests or write some documentation, which is great, which is like the huge thing of open source. Everyone can contribute, even if it's only in the Discord, and you can compensate them by giving them, some part of your token, participation in the airdrop, or whatever else. So it's I really like this, like a spectrum. Someone who comes in, does a pull request. You don't need like a contract with them. Just makes life very easy. If you have employees, stream their salaries. I think it's a pretty cool feature of crypto. Streaming your salary is pretty cool. On-chain bank account is just keep your funds on-chain. Have some runway in USDC or something. Keep it on-chain. As I've said, don't touch bank accounts if you don't have to. Obviously, do your tax stuff and so on and so forth. But just keep your funds on chain if you can. On-chain revenue is a hard one. Obviously, not every business has their revenue on chain. But if you can build a business where you just take a cut, have a contract in between your protocol and the front end, and you take a front end fee or something, or a transaction fee, it just makes it super easy. And this also gives you real-time reports of your revenue, which is pretty cool. Gives you the ability to have a Dune dashboard, and you can see everything in real time. Fully remote. Actually, if you have a great team, I like to be in the office. But it's like an option. If you have this great guy who's in somewhere else and he cannot move, who cares? Fully remote. But personally, I enjoy being in the office with great people. So it's a trade-off. But at the end of the day, all that matters is your pull request, which is your code contribution, and doesn't matter where you live or when you do it. If it gets done, it's perfectly fine. Last point, no meetings. And what I mean by no meetings is like a scheduled meeting. Like every week at Wednesday at 7 p.m. we all meet and talk about stuff. I don't like that. I think it's a waste of time, to be honest with you. If you if you work in a big company, obviously it's different. Not what I'm talking about here. This has like max 5 people working at it on it full time. If you need to reach out to the front end guy, just reach out to him. You know, I think there's no need to have 5 people. You know, I never understood like a daily stand up. You know, I'm working on the front, I'm working on the nice. Like, if I wanted to know that, I can check the GitHub and see what's everyone working on, right? So this is what I mean with meetings. Obviously, sometimes you need to reach out to people, and sometimes it's easier to do it in a call than on a Discord. That's totally fine. But scheduled meetings with everyone on the team, it just sucks and wastes a bunch of time. Yeah, that's basically it. Just some things I want to talk about. You know, if you have, would love to hear your opinion on the comments or something. Reach out to me if you think this is interesting. Maybe I'll do a blog post about it or something. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and see you. Bye bye.